We have a quorum.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get the meeting started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 12th, 2021 meeting of the Costa Mesa Sanitary District Citizens Advisory Committee. Let's start with roll call.
Thank you. We have a new committee member who's joining us for the first time today, who was just appointed yesterday. That would be committee member Mike Corcoran,
Oh, excellent.
who doesn't seem to be here at this moment. Committee member Andy Brenneman, Jeff Arbor,
Hello, present.
Andrew Nielsen, Phil Marsh, Judy Gilo,
Present.
Seth Grainer. I saw Seth's name here.
Seth's here.
Yep.
He might be on mute.
Might be. Monty Fields, Daniel Baum, Sue Lester,
Here, and I think it's actually did you say Cindy Brenneman?
Cindy Brenneman.
Oh, okay. It sounded like you said Andy.
It does list Andy on there.
It does list Andy.
But
Yeah, her name is Cindy.
We'll correct
okay. We will correct that. Thank you. And Elodie Katz.
Here.
Thank you.
How about me?
Who did I miss?
The new guy.
Dicky Fernandez?
Oh, I'm sorry, Dickie. I didn't say you. And Dickie Fernandez.
Thank you.
I think Monty Fields' name is still there. Maybe that's where Dickie's name.
I apologize. I'm noticing that now. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Nolani. Well, welcome to our new members. And
Cindy Brenneman, am I?
Yes,
I'm
you are
sorry?
on, Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
Okay.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Happy to
And
be here.
Yay, excellent. We're happy to have you. Okay, so moving along to public comments. Are there any members of the public on the line or any written comments that we may have received?
No written comments were received.
Okay. And no one on the line?
No one that I see that has a raised hand.
Okay. All right, then we'll move along. First item on the agenda is item B1, appoint a chair and a vice chair. I was just wondering if staff could maybe provide just some brief background on this process for our new members.
Sure. Nolan, do you want to take the lead or do you?
Oh, sure, I can do that.
Thanks.
So the term of chair and vice chair is for 2 years, and this would be the time that's appropriate for the committee to go ahead and nominate a member of your committee to serve as the chair and vice chair as well. So I will open it up to the committee at this time.
I would like to nominate Elodie Katz as chair.
I would like to second.
Thank you. The new members may not know, I've been serving as interim chair for the last 2 meetings. So I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I couldn't hear that.
I don't.
Nope.
Might have been a background noise.
Okay, maybe. So I've enjoyed serving, and I would love to continue on, but before I call it to a vote, I just wanted to see if there was any discussion, if anyone else was interested in volunteering. I just wanted to open it up to the floor to have a conversation about it.
Today's my first day. I'm not sure I'm ready to leap into that.
Fair enough.
Well, I would just like to say that during the time that you have led us, which has been a very brief, you've done an excellent job.
Oh, thank you.
And so that's why I nominated you, because I feel like you didn't really get a chance to do it, and you've done such a great job, and you have been on, for everyone else that doesn't know, you have been on the committee since its inception, in 2018, and I think that you are knowledgeable and would have shown you do a great job, and I would like to see you continue. And that's why I nominated you for you guys that are just starting.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, well, that's great. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving Elodie Katz for the chair, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And any and any abstentions?
Oh, abstain. I'm just catching up. Thank you.
Fair enough. Okay. Okay, the motion carries. Okay, and then for vice chair, I would like
to nominate Sue Lester for vice chair.
I would like to second that.
Oh, hey, that was my job.
Oh, sorry, Jeannie.
That's okay. I have, I think Sue Lester has been on for a while. She understands what's going on, and she's a spark. And that would be good to get everybody going and support the president.
I agree.
Thank you. Thank you for your vote of confidence.
Excellent.
Welcome.
Okay. Well, we have a motion, a second. All those in favor of approving Sue Lester for vice chair, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions?
Abstain.
Jeff, okay. Perfect. Okay, that motion carries as well. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Okay, next up is item B2. We need to approve or consider approving the Citizens Advisory Committee meeting minutes of March 10th.
A point of order.
Yes, Judy.
Don't we have to elect officially the vice chair? Or did it count that we were electing both you at the same time?
Oh, I believe we called for a vote. Nolani, did we skip vice chair?
No, we called for the vote for Sue Lester.
I thought we were calling the vote for Elodie.
We did that already, and then we called for the vote for
Okay,
Sue
I
Lester.
remember saying aye twice, but that's okay. Thank you.
Both approved. Both passed.
Great. Yes, I know.
Okay, so for the meeting minutes, do any committee members have any comments or revisions? Okay, hearing none, would anyone like to make a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Okay.
And I'll second Cindy Brenneman.
Okay. Excellent. All those in favor of approving the March 10th, 2021 CAC meeting minutes as presented, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions?
Oh, Jeff.
Jeff, okay, fair enough.
I read through everything, but just count me out for this round.
That's okay. That's fine. Okay, excellent. That motion carries as well. Okay, so moving along to item B3. This is the bulk of our meeting tonight, the budget review. So I'll turn this over. Scott, will you be introducing it?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll do the introduction, and then
you.
Caitlin Tran, our finance manager, will be giving the presentation. So welcome, Citizens Advisory Committee members, and again, thank you for being here, and congratulations to Chair Elodie Katz and Vice Chair Sue Lester for your appointments. We are proud to present to you our preliminary biennial budget for fiscal year 21-22 and fiscal year 22-23. We do 2-year budgets instead of just a 1-year budget. So a lot of work goes into putting both these documents together. This was probably one of our most challenging budgets we ever had to put together. because as you'll see in the presentations, we do have some deficits in both the solid waste and the wastewater, but ultimately they are still balanced because we do have enough reserve funds to balance those budgets. But Caitlin will go through the budgets in detail and also what lays ahead and how we plan on ensuring that we don't have deficit spending in the future. The preliminary budget has been presented to the board twice already. They did have a special meeting last week. And so we got some more information, received more information, some directions from the board. And tonight we're seeking comments and suggestions from the Citizens Advisory Committee. And then we'll present those recommendations or comments and suggestions to the board on May 24th. So they'll review the budget again on May 24th. And if needed, we can have another special meeting or review the budget under study session in June. But if not, then the plan is to have the board adopt the budget at their June 28th meeting. So with that, I will turn it over to Caitlin Tran, our finance manager.
Thank you, Scott. Good evening, Madam Chair and CAC members. My name is Caitlin Tran. I'm the finance manager. Today, I will go over the preliminary biennial budget review for fiscal years 2021-22 and 2022-23. I'm using two laptops and I'm sharing my screen, and so it might lag a little bit, so bear with me. In this report, I attached 8 attachments for your review. I attached the staff report for the special meeting that Scott just mentioned on May 6th. It's a very detailed report. If you have a chance, you can review that. Today, I will go into detail attachment, and I need to learn how to use my mouse while I talk. Okay, so today I will go into detail attachment A through C, and attachment D through G are additional detailed information for your review. Okay. So for, like I said, today we'll dive into attachment A and B. That's the, we'll go over the revenue expenditures. And the end we'll review the attachment C, fund balance for solid waste and wastewater. So if you start with attachment A on page 3, the total preliminary budget for fiscal year 2021-22 is $13,214,400. Of that amount, the solid waste fund preliminary budget of $6,604,400 assumes that expenses will exceed revenue by $357,800, creating a deficit requiring the use of fund balance to balance the budget. You will hear me say fund balance or reserve, it's the same. Okay. In wastewater fund preliminary budget of $6,277,000 assumes that expenses will exceed revenue by $313,200. Again, creating a deficit requiring the use of reserves to balance the budget. And then attachment B on page 3, it's the fiscal year 2022-23. The total preliminary budget for fiscal year 2022-23 is $13,995,300. Of that amount, solid waste fund preliminary budget of $6,779,900 assumes that expenses will exceed revenue by $136,300, creating a deficit requiring the use of reserve to balance the budget. On the wastewater fund preliminary budget of $6,275,400 assumes that expenses will exceed revenue by $203,400. Again, creating a deficit required the use of reserves to balance the budget. please note that this preliminary budget was presented at the special meeting on May 6th. All the numbers are hasn't been updated after that meeting. So the following expense accounts will be updated after the meeting today. Staff are still revising the numbers in these accounts. So these are not final. These will not be the proposed budget. Okay. Okay. Now I will go over the line item budget. Attachment A, starting page 1, we'll start with revenue. This list right here, these are the revenue accounts. We have property tax, annual charge account, additional container accounts, investment earnings, contribution, charges for services, sewer permits, inspection fees, and other non-operating revenue. And then on these are the columns that how we record the revenue. For property taxes, we record that under general fund. And then we have solid waste fund, wastewater fund, and then the preliminary total. And I also attach here, I add here the adopted current fiscal year 2021 budget for your comparison. Okay. So after revenue, we have expenditures, starting with salaries and benefits. You're wondering why we have salary and benefits up here and then again down here, this section. Well, it's different that the top section, it's for administrative staff, for staff at HQ. So the distribution for salary and benefits, it's split between solid waste and wastewater, depending their position, depending their duties. So some positions are split 20% to solid waste and 80% to wastewater, or vice versa, 80% to solid waste and 20% wastewater, or some are split 50-50. And for example, code enforcement officer is 100% solid waste. Okay, and then down here, so, salaries and benefits, these are for the field staff at district yard, that they're mainly 100% wastewater. Okay. Okay. And then here are the operations and maintenance, and the same concept. We have up here this section for HQ staff, and then we have wastewater staff. So that's why you see there are two contract services expense account here, and then you see another contract services up here, or staff development, office supply. Some accounts are for HQ staff and district yard staff. But you won't see, like, for example, pump station maintenance expense account, you won't see it up here in the administrative section. Okay, my mouse is moving, okay, just checking. Okay, and then some expenses are charged entirely to a specific fund, while other expenses may be allocated in both funds based on a percentage. Same concept with the salaries and benefits, as I explained earlier. Okay, so if you want to look at the detail of selected account, you can look at attachment A and B. It starts on page 4. Okay. So here in the line item, you see professional services, the total preliminary budget of 318,800, and you're wondering why, what made up that number. Just go to page 4. And today I will go over only a few expense accounts. And one of them is the professional services account. Okay. These highlighted areas here, these line items are new items for the next two fiscal year budget. The community survey, this is done every other year. And the rates, sewer rate study, this is new. A wastewater rate study will be conducted in the fiscal year 2021-22. The last time the district conducted a wastewater rate study was in fiscal year 2011-12. And the last time the rate increase was 3 years ago in wastewater. And then the district also needs to conduct studies and implement SB 1383. Okay. So that's what made up this 318,800. And a little less in fiscal year 2022-23. Have Sue Lester raising her hand?
Yeah, I have a question about the preliminary budget as it relates to professional services.
Okay.
I know once the census results come out, the sanitary district might have to review its district allocations again, like how we drew the different voting districts. If that happens, which I'm pretty sure it will, is that going to be an additional cost?
I think your internet froze a little bit, or is it mine? I didn't hear part of it.
Oh, it did freeze.
Has to reevaluate the voting districts because of the change in population due to the census. And we have to obviously use consultants for that. Is that cost built into these professional services already? Or is that going to be an additional cost on top of what you're showing us?
I will have to direct that question to Nolani. Nolani, under the promo account, there's that district voting division awareness campaign. Is that part of that, or is that something different?
No, that is something that is separate, but I do believe that there is a line item within the budget that is specifically for the district voting.
Okay. To hire a consultant to reevaluate that, it's not in the budget. The only line item for the district voting, it's your item, Nolani, in the public info community account.
Yes, the line item that you showed there is for the campaign awareness for the public, notifying the public of what will be entailed, but not necessarily to hire the demographer.
Yeah, and I will, actually, I think it's the next slide, right? Yeah, right here. So this is what I just asked Nolani about. It's this budget line item right here. So to answer your question, Sue, no, that cost is not included in here.
And if I could add on to what staff has said, we still need to consult with our attorney district counsel. We may not need another demographer. I don't, or if we do it, we might not need another demographer, so we have to consult with our district counsel, Alan Burns, on what the next step will be once the census is out, which I believe is going to be October this year. It's coming out pretty late this year, so it doesn't give us much time to make any adjustments for the elections. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So up next is the public info education community promo account. again, the highlighted areas here are the new items. And the shredding and the cardboard event, we're still looking into the budget numbers. So the proposed budget will have an updated number. Okay.
If I could add on to a little bit on those two events, the Citizens Advisory Committee, you might recall, we discussed those two events at your last meeting. And one of the recommendations the committee made was to direct staff to reach out to the city of Costa Mesa to see if they would partner with us to reduce some of the expenditures. So we did that. We took the advice of the CEC and we reached out to the city and asked would they be willing to partner. And the good news is they said yes, they'd be willing to partner with us. And so that's great. So what we're looking at is possibly having the event at the corporate yard, and then they will provide the staffing for us. And so right now we're looking preliminary, probably doing like the cardboard event, maybe in January 2022, right after Christmas, because that's where you see a lot of the cardboard accumulations from all the presents. And then the shredding event will come around around tax time in April. So when people want to get rid of all their tax papers. So that's what we're looking at. It's still the fiscal year 21-22, but it won't be into the 22 calendar year. So that's the latest on those two events.
Excellent.
That's great. Thank you.
Sure. Well, thank you for the suggestion. It was a good suggestion.
Thank you, Scott. Okay. And then next, we'll go over the trash hauler, recycling, disposal, and organics account. Okay. Please note that this preliminary budget does not reflect the 5.6% CPI rate adjustment request from CR&R. I did have a calculation in here, but that's just an estimate if the board approved, but it's not in the preliminary budget. So if you look down attachment A and B, it's the current rate numbers. Okay.
And I'm sorry, Kate, if I can also add on to that light item too, real quick, just to give the committee members an update, the latest on CNR's request for a rate adjustment. We had that on yesterday's study session agenda, and staff's recommendation was to deny the adjustment because we listed on the staff board. If you haven't seen it, it's on the staff board. We listed a list of service concerns we had, and we wanted the board to consider that, but when they're making their decision. CR&R reached out to us and wanted to speak to us, request us to pull that item from the agenda. They want to talk to us about those service levels. So the board agreed. They pulled that item yesterday. So my meeting with CR&R is tomorrow, and then we're going to bring that discussion, that request back to the board on June 8th.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, so here's the current rate. And if we approve the 5.6 and this is the new rate, here's the estimate tonnage and account for the next 2 fiscal year. Okay. So based on these numbers here, I'm estimating a 4% increase in recycling tonnage and an 8% in organics. Based on the trend that's been going on, and also assuming if we're going to implement the SB 1383, I'm assuming rate tonnage will continue to increase. However, with the COVID-19 and the stay-at-home orders last year, it threw off the data a little bit. So I'm waiting for the April and the May tonnage before the proposed budget to the board in June. We'll look at this again and we'll adjust the number. So these numbers will be updated. And if the board approves the 5.6 CPI rate increase, then the total for trash hauler, recycling, and organics will increase 325,300 in fiscal year 21-22 and 335,100 in 22-23. Okay. Next, special programs. you look here, the actual spending on these programs is much less than the adopted budget in prior fiscal years. Right here, I'm just showing fiscal year 2019-20. You see here, budget is it was adopted 154,000, and we only spent about 67,000. And then current fiscal year, this is year to date as of March 31st. We budget 154, and we only spent 7,000. And this is also COVID related. That's why the number is very, very low. For the next 2 fiscal years, staff is reducing the program budgets to 60,000. Staff is considering eliminating household hazardous waste program, which is this one, right? Oops. This line right here, 25,000, and allocate the budget to implement 1383, and eliminating the household hazardous waste program at OCC, because our concern that non-residents and commercial businesses are dropping off household hazardous waste there, and the district is paying for that. So the district is considering removing that budget. The district is right now, and since 2018 with the new contract with CR&R, the district offers the door-to-door HHW program. So resident can just contact CR&R and schedule for pickup.
This is it.
And then next, we'll look at capital outlay, wastewater fund. Okay. The district is budgeting continuing replacement of and replacing and upgrading the district server and software, purchase of inspector vehicle, a rooftop air conditioning unit. We have 12 units, but each, because of budget constraint, each year we can only budget for one to replace 1 unit. Also to fiscal year 21-22 to install a drought tolerance landscape and installation of a solar system battery storage at headquarters. The facility revolving fund is a restricted fund that can be used only for specific purposes. Previously, the district council had confirmed that the landscape and the solar system battery projects can be supported by the facilities revolving fund, and it was presented to the board on October 2020 board meeting. Through this budget process, staff is proposing the board to approve transfer out of 235,000 from the facility revolving fund into the wastewater fund to cover for the costs of the installation, the installation of the drought tolerance landscape and the solar system battery at HQ. So if you add the 145 and the 90,000, that's 235,000. And because this is in the facility revolving fund, it's wastewater, so it can only be transferred into the wastewater fund. Okay. And then now we're looking at capital improvement projects. The highlighted in blue here, blue font, are the next 2 fiscal year budget for capital improvement. Fiscal year 2021-22, approximately 1.8 million, and fiscal year 22-23, approximately 1.8 if you round it up. And throughout the budget process, staff had to cut and remove some projects and some items that we wish we can add to this budget. For example, we had to reduce 50,000 in the sewer maintenance account. Normally, I believe it's 150, and we had to cut it down to 100. We had to cut contract services for temporary staff. We cut cost of living adjustment for fiscal year 2022-23. Had to cut CPR training. We had to replace the iPad replacement for the board and CAC meetings. Sorry. Pump station art wraps, staff development and conferences. This is one of the account that we're still looking at, and the budget will be updated with the new number for staff development and conferences. Okay. Since election is every other year, so there's no, if you look at attachment A, there's no election cost. It's only in the second fiscal year, that's attachment B. Now that we have the in-house district engineer, so we removed the budget for contractual engineer and inspector. And then here are a list of items, wish list that we would like to add to the budget, but again, we couldn't afford it in this budget cycle. Okay. Okay. Now that's attachment A and B. That's the detail part of the budget. Anyone has any questions before I move on to fund balance? Okay. So let's move on to fund balance. I'm going to start with solid waste fund. Okay. It has been the district goal to adopt a deficit budget to reduce the solid waste fund balance. The fiscal year 2021-22 and 22-23, if the district adopt the preliminary budget as presented today, by fiscal year 2024-25, the district will not meet the operating reserve requirement. Okay. So here on top, I have, this is staff projections, this section up here. And then below here, it's the rate study projection the consultant did in 2019. If you look fiscal year 21-22, staff is projecting a deficit of 357,800. And the consultant projecting about 200,000 deficit. For fiscal year 2022-23, staff, based on this preliminary budget, staff is projecting 136,300 in deficit, and the consultant is they projected about 10,000. So by fiscal year 2023-24, staff and the consultant projected a surplus, but the consultant is projected it about $38,000 more than staff projection. As you see here, I'm projecting 80,000 surplus and they're projecting 118. Okay. So a solid waste rate study is recommended to be done in fiscal year 2023-24, and if the board approved that, then rate will be will go into effective 24-25 in order to meet the deficit in this fiscal year. Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
So increase that CC&R is requesting, and I know it could change because they went back to the drawing board for whatever reason, but what they requested so far over the next 2 years as it stands now, until we get their revised request, they're asking for 5.6%, which in dollars, so everyone knows, is basically $660,000. And for the new members, that's in addition to their contract. They're asking for more money that is not in their contract, and it's up to the board to approve it. So my question is this: if the board were to approve that increase, isn't that going to tack another $660,000 deficit on top of this deficit that we're already looking at, and going to double what is going to have to come out of the fund balance?
Yes, so if you look at attachment D, I'm not showing it here, but that's a scenario. What if, what's the fund balance will look like if, let's see if I can pull it up here. Here.
And while you're looking for that, I just want to mention, like, to the new members, if it's okay, so they understand that, because I didn't understand this at first, is that even though CR&R is making the request and the board isn't obligated to approve it, it can't be included in any preliminary budget because it hasn't been approved, correct?
It's not in the preliminary budget because it's not approved yet.
Exactly, but that's what I just want for all the new members to understand, that that is why it's not in
Right.
the preliminary budget, is because it hasn't been approved.
Correct.
But if it is, it's going to more than double the deficit of what would come out of the fund balance.
Right. Yeah, so that's why I didn't want to include that cost in here, but I'm showing, I did the calculation just to show what it would look like. So if you look at attachment D, sorry, I did update that. If the board approved the 5.6, then I'm sorry, these are a little bit off. Right away, we every year will hit the deficit. 683, 471. Okay. And so then we will not meet the operating reserve fiscal year 21-22, the first budget year.
Thank you. I thought it was important for everybody to understand that, because I didn't really understand that back in 2019. So thank you for the clarification for everyone.
And in this, could you, I don't know if you already said it, could you let us know why they are asking for that extra money?
It is in their contract that they can go to the board every 2 years to request a cost of living adjustment. And the board can reject or approve. It doesn't mean that they automatically get that. The board will approve.
So it is in the contract that they can get a cost of living adjustment. It just needs to be approved.
Right.
And there is, I know, I don't know how much this affects, but I know that there's new solid waste legislation that's coming into effect over the next few years. So for my fellow committee members, just so that you guys know, all of us citizens are facing that. And if we face it, so does the trash hauler, in this case, CR&R.
Yes, and I can tell you that, they're gonna say the reason we need a rate adjustment this year is because of COVID, right? Definitely COVID-19 impacted the solid waste industry, especially on the recycling side, just like it impacted industries. So, that's going to be their main reason for the rate increases. They took a loss. Now, our contract does stipulate that we're allowed to look at their books and see what kind of profit margins or losses that did occur. We can't share that with the public, but at least we can look at it, and then we can tell the board, here's our opinion. So, and we have done that. Our district treasurer, Mark Davis, has met with CNR, and he will share his findings to the board on June 8th.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. And then lastly, we have wastewater fund balance.
This is Jeff. Sorry, this is Jeff Arbor. I just had a comment that I'm sure it's something that the department's already considered, but during COVID, the waste haulers, likely including CR&R, closed their MRFs, which my understanding, because I don't think they changed the rates in which they charge their cities and special districts, may have been a long period of cost savings. And just in case you are going to look at the books, or if you have an opportunity again, you might see some cost avoidance in that area because waste was going directly to landfills without the materials recovery facility process.
Yes, that's a very good point, and we are aware of that, and we will be making that point to CNR when we meet with them.
Cool, thanks.
Well,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
In addition to, I mean, I know they're gonna, like you guys said, they're gonna say because of COVID, they had higher expenses. I would look at, they asked for a dollars in 2019, and there was no COVID then.
Sue, you're cutting out when you speak. I'm only hearing half of what you say.
Oh, my connection's crazy. Can you hear me?
It's going in and out. I think what Sue was saying is that we did Scott, refresh my memory, but I think we approved this in 2019.
The board did approve a CPI adjustment in 2019, which was their first CPI adjustment in 15 years.
Wow.
And I think Sue's point was that there wasn't COVID at that point.
Correct.
What she said.
Yes, correct.
Thank you. That was my point.
It's a good point. I had a follow-up question to what Jeff was saying, just really quick about the recycling tonnage, because I noticed that the line item says recycling and disposal. And we have, I forget what the percentage is, but a diversion rate goal as part of our recycling arrangement with CR&R. If they don't meet that, do we get charged that amount regardless? I realize COVID is probably an exceptional circumstance, but if everything's going straight to the landfill.
They are required in our contract to divert at least 50% from the landfill. If they don't meet that, then they would be in violation of the contract, and then they would have X amount of days to correct that. And then if they don't, if they're still in violation, then I think our attorney gets involved, and what other recourses are there? I have to look at the contract again, but I can tell you that they've never, at least the reports they've given us, they've never gone below the 50% recycling diversion. But if that did, then they would be violating their contract.
Okay. And in the case of COVID, I assume since so many MRFs were closed, it's just sort of a given.
Yeah, all the agencies in California got basically kind of a reprieve from Sacramento.
Okay.
Saying, hey, we understand, COVID's impacting operations. Just do your best effort, good faith effort, and do your best you can.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hey, can I ask a question as the absolute newest person on here? That 50% diversion rate, does that count? For that to count, is that meaning 50% is actually going all the way to say be sold somewhere that is actually recycling it, or is that what's the exact definition of that?
The exact definition means it's not going to the landfill. It could be recycled. It could be reused. It's just, it's diverting. You're diverting it away from the landfill. Whatever it is, just not going to the landfill.
Okay, but not in like terminal storage. I just know like a lot of plastics there's not much demand for the plastic for recycling, and a lot of stuff is having to be warehoused. It's not.
Yeah, and there's actually, believe it or not, there are incinerators out in I think the San Bernardino County that are burning plastics, and it's something we're looking into in the future, possibly using an incinerator as well. And it's not one of those, when you think incinerators, you think, oh gosh, all this black smoke is going in the air, and it's going to be detrimental to the atmosphere. It's nothing like that at all. But CNR does have a partnership with a company that does incinerate plastics. So that is another diversion from the landfills, is incinerator. So we're looking at that in the future as well. And we'll bring that forward to the CAC in the near future.
Okay, thank you.
That was a good question.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, I just have one last slide, and real quick, just want to say that the district will need to use the fund balance to balance the next 2 fiscal year budgets in the wastewater. This is the first year that the district has to use fund balance to balance the budget. Okay. And we're proposing, or the district will conduct a wastewater rate study in fiscal year 2021-22. And if rates approve, then it will go into effective fiscal year 22-23. Okay. And that's all I have for today. Any questions or comments?
I just want to say that was really nicely presented.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very easy to follow.
This is Jeff Arbor again. Just a question. I saw, and I was doing my best to follow along. There's a wastewater budget and there's a solid waste budget. And I heard you use balance. Is there a balance fund? Is there a third account that has like extra funds to help offset deficits in either the wastewater or the solid waste, or are they just standalone funds?
So we have the general fund. That's where we just record the property tax. And then we have solid waste fund, and we have reserve for solid waste fund. And that reserve can only be spent and used only for solid waste. And wastewater, we have revenue expenditures for that. And then there's a fund balance or reserve. And then that's only can be used for wastewater fund. You can't use wastewater to help out solid waste.
I understand. Okay, thank you.
And just to reiterate what Ken said earlier, we're showing a deficit spending. We are balanced because we're using the reserve funds to balance the budget. But we just wanted to demonstrate that, yes, it is a deficit, but in the big picture, we are balanced. And then we do have a plan for in the future to ensure that we don't continue this deficit spending.
So if I can just add to that, Scott, if you look here, fiscal year 2019-20, we had a surplus at the end of the fiscal year for wastewater, surplus of approximately 197,000. And then this is what budget this current fiscal year 2020-21, we adopted a balanced budget. And then this is my estimate that the end of, if no emergency, I'm gonna knock on wood, we possibly will have a savings or a surplus of about 29,000 here. And again, this is the first year we are proposing a deficit budget in this fund. So these are savings here, and so it went back into the fund balance. the surplus right here. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Any suggestions?
This is Elodie. I would just like to second what Dickie said, Caitlin. It was a great presentation. Thank you for all your work in putting this together for everyone. I had just a general question. If you could refresh my memory, I know now that we're trying to draw down the fund balances, but could you explain how they got so large and why it was that we had to adopt the deficit spending kind of model and the history on that?
In the wastewater fund or
And
the solid waste, because the goal was in the solid waste fund where we have to draw down fund balance.
Right.
Yeah.
But how is it that it got to be such a large reserve and then that we decided to start drawing it down?
Well,
Scott, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Well, honestly, I think it's probably because the rates were too high when they were set back in 2006. And so we had, you know, the rates were high, the expenditures were low, so our tipping fees at the landfills weren't as high. We didn't have all the regulations that Sacramento's stuck down onto us lately, except for, you know, AB 939, which is the diversion rate. So it kept on building the reserves, and it got to a point where I noticed that we were at the $5 million mark in solid waste. And we didn't, you know, unlike wastewater, we don't have capital expenditures in the solid waste. We don't have to replace the carts or replace the trucks because that's CNR's job now. So my thinking was, why do we need to have all that money in the bank? We do have to keep a minimum balance in our solid waste fund of about $2 million. And the reason why we need to do that is because our major source of revenue is our assessments, which are tied to the property tax roll. And so we get that big chunk of revenue from the county twice a year, usually in November and April. And then like from the November through April, you know, December, January, February, March, we don't have very minimal revenue coming in, and we still got to pay the bills. And that's where the reserves come in, the $2 million reserves come in to pay those bills. So we knew we had to have a minimum of $2 million. So we had this excess of $3 million. So we recommended to the board, and the board approved doing a rate decrease. We actually decreased the solid waste rate, which is, you don't hear that too often on reducing rates. And the board of directors approved it twice. And so and we knew that going in. We knew we knew we're going to come to this road today, where we are today, that one day we're going to have to, you know, increase those rates. And when we hit our objective, and we have, you know, as you can see in Caitlin's presentation, we are getting down to that $2 million minimum reserve. So now it's time to raise the rates again. Now, unfortunately, COVID kind of put a crinkle in that and made it a little more challenging for us, because I think we were on target according to the study. But now that more materials getting dumped in the trash, we're seeing definitely more people are staying home, they're throwing away more trash, our cost is going up. So that's put a little wrinkle in it, and that's what you're seeing today.
Sure, thank you. And then for the wastewater, what is the goal kind of balance to keep on hand? As I know, obviously the capital projects are much.
Yeah, well, so we as Caitlin presented in a couple slides earlier, a couple of wish lists. Most of those wish lists was on the wastewater side, and you know, my goal is always, and the board's goal is always, you know, to have zero sewer spills, right? And so we're always looking at of strategies or ways that we can achieve zero sewer spills. And one way I suggested to the board is, you know, hire, and I think I'm presenting this to the CAC too, as well, is hiring additional staff, you know, and additional equipment, but that costs money. And so in order to afford that, we'd have to do the rate increase. And that's why you don't see it in the budget now. But like Caitlin said, the last time we did a rate study was 10 years ago. And so a lot has changed in those 10 years. So it's good to see what are the new trends now from 10 years ago. You know, how much water are people using today? How much growth have we occurred since the last time we did the rate? So we definitely need to do another rate study to ensure that we are balanced. The reason why we're unbalanced now is just, again, we're just having additional expenditures hitting us. We have hired more staff. We have bought more equipment. Our capital project, we're very aggressive at our capital projects, so, and we continue to do that as well. So that's part of the reason why we have our deficit.
Okay.
Todd, if I may add a comment, I don't know if you're aware of this, but tomorrow I'm leading an interagency collaboration presentation in which I've invited Mark Esker and Steve Kano to attend. That presentation focuses on new techniques and innovative equipment for the cleaning and operation of sewers.
That's awesome.
So I talked to Steve earlier today. He called me asking me a question. He said he's interested. We're going to use some of that technology in an upcoming capital project of mine. But there'll be, I think, either 7 or 8 other agencies on this virtual call.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it. Thank you. Thank you, Dickie. Appreciate it.
Excellent.
Awesome.
This is Jeff. I just had one question, and maybe it's too soon. 1383, I'm guessing might have to have some sort of like enforcement or compliance type efforts. Is that something that's budgeted for? If so, is that CR&R's role or sanitation district role? Or does that fall within the city of Costa Mesa and the other cities?
It's a good question, and yes, there is a line item in the budget to hire a solid waste consultant to help us look at revising our contract with CR&R to comply with 1383. 1383 to comply, it's not an agency compliance, it's more of a community and a statewide compliance.
Yeah.
So it's going to require a collaboration of all the stakeholders. It's going to require a collaboration with the city, with CR&R. With the county, it's just this huge endeavor. And so we did hire the plan is to hire consultants to help us develop some new policy and procedure. And you're right. One of those new procedures is going to be enforcement. We've never really wanted to be the trash cops, right? We didn't really want to go in there and tell people, hey, your trash is contaminated, you need to do a better job. But 1383 is going to force our hand on doing that. And as you saw in one of our wish lists, we wanted to hire a full-time code enforcement officer because we believe that's going to be required to enforce 1383.
Cool. Yeah, I was just curious how, because I'm always thinking about cities as jurisdictions, and then with the special district, I was thinking that there might be a lot of overlap. So I was just kind of curious how that would work. Thanks.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge collaboration partnership. So we're already in contact with the city. We plan on meeting with them often the next couple of years and working together on achieving or complying with this new law.
Oh, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
So no more questions, then I'm done with my report.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Then that brings us to closing items. Let's see. Committee member comments. Does anyone on the committee have any comments?
This is Cindy Brenneman. I'm not Tom Brenneman, but I switched over to a computer and put his picture up for some reason. Anyway, I just wanted to say it's really nice to be here, and because it switched over, I wasn't able to ask a question, but I just wanted to thank Sue Lester for clarifying what she did on CR&R. That was, I had a lot of questions there, and that clarified a lot for me, and I'm just happy to be here and see where we go from here. Thank you.
Excellent. We're happy you're here too. And yeah, it was an excellent point Sue brought up. So thank you for saying that. Yep. Awesome.
I have a comment. I know. Shocking. I know.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So just as a resident and as a member of the CAC, I really hope that the board will not approve the CPI increase for CR&R for a number of reasons. I understand maybe their costs went up in starting a fire and also killed a pedestrian. So can you guys hear me? Or is my thing
breaking up a little bit?
It cut out briefly.
Yeah.
Going crazy. I know that they have other expenses, but we don't have the extra $660,000 that they're asking for. that is above what their contract requires. And I know if it was me and I was doing a remodel, I wouldn't be so quick to reach into my pocket and give the contractor $660,000 I wasn't obligated to give them. I would much rather see if the district is going to spend additional funds that are going to require us to much rather see them use it for a full-time code enforcement officer, or perhaps maybe a computer upgrade that would allow us to actually track what customers have, what size cans and how many cans and how much trash is actually being used individually. Because I think in the past, Scott, you mentioned that for your computer system to have the capability to do that, it could be anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000.
Right.
So I would encourage everyone on the CAC to look at the performance analysis for CR&R that is being put forth by staff. Because I extra $600,000 bump when there is so many performance issues, and it will put a financial burden on our fund balance. And that's it. Thank you.
Judy Gilo would like to make a point or two.
Excellent. Go ahead, Judy.
After reading the information, I stalled at a point, and I'm wondering, and thanks to Sue just then, she mentioned a point. Not everybody does their garbage and sewage alike. We may all have individual houses, but in some houses you have parents and 2 or 3 kids, 5 kids, no kids. In my neighborhood, 10 houses on our little block piece, 6 of those houses have single people, widow, widower, or just single. 6 out of 10. And last week, I didn't put out any cans because I didn't have enough trash garbage. And I'm wondering, we're supposed to be working on taking care of all of those things, but different people in different neighborhoods have different incomes, and I think all of us, if we all have a fee, it's not sort of fair. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at age as a factor, and definitely income of the people, as well as, well, house and property value does not necessarily mean income or evaluation. So I guess I'm concerned about a base fee for all. It's really nice that we think about sharing the fees, but other things have to come into it. And I don't think I'm expressing myself exactly clearly. I hope you get kind of what my message is. Especially with, the cans, the different kinds of cans, and education for all of us, and continued education, especially because of this Senate bill, that 1383, whatever. It's going to really need education. Just casual comments from neighbors kind of indicated to me this week that people didn't understand how to of what to put in what cans. And who knows what kind of cans people have, and does the can make an effect? How do they get the cans? Our neighborhood got cans because this guy in a truck came by and said, oh, you're supposed to have one of these. Everybody gets one. And then, hey, we have these really big things. Why don't you guys take these? This is what I have left in the can. I'm going for the day. And well, I don't know where I'm going with that one, other than if you charge a fee to individuals on basis of how many cans they have and what kind of cans they have, how can they do that? Not fairly. And we only have 2 cans. I do not like to put my dry clean cardboard in with really rotty trash. I suppose most things that rot need to be in the green waste. Are twigs counted as green waste if they are a branch that lost its leaves? I think I need more education on what goes where. I'm sorry to take too much time. I'll leave it at that.
No, you're bringing up some really good points. Definitely there needs to be more education, and I know we discussed that way back when, about when we were looking at the solid waste rate study, as far as the fairness of the size of the bins. At the time, we didn't feel we could take it on, but Scott, with SB 1383, and I know the board at one time recently was looking at a special meeting to possibly discuss a 3-cart system.
Yes,
Has that been scheduled?
Not yet, but that's still on the horizon of talking with the CAC and the board on a 3-cart system.
Is that in reference to SB 1383, or was that from something else?
Yes, it does have some reference to it to meet those, because we have to reduce contamination. And so would a 3-cart system help reduce those contaminations? Something we need to discuss. And that's one of the, one thing we need to engage, we need to engage with the community. I firmly believe there are some people out there that like the 2-can system, and there are some people that like the 3-can system. So we want to, as part of the survey, the community survey that's in our budget, that's one of the questions we're going to be asking the community. What do you prefer? Do you prefer a 3-can system? Do you want the 2-can system? So it gives us a little input of what the community's thinking. But we will be bringing that back here in the near future.
With the 3-can system, would that give us an opportunity to actually do a proper count of who has what cans and kind of start fresh? Some of the issues I remember having before was not knowing who had grandfathered which cans and who had the large bins, et cetera.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's a good point. Absolutely. I'm writing that down. So yeah, that is a good opportunity.
Okay.
Well, and CR&R is the one that drops off the cans. So they, would really need to take ownership of doing, because even if the district has the proper computer program to track that,
yeah,
it's going to be completely worthless if CR&R doesn't hold up their end and actually keep track of what their drivers are doing and what cans they're taking and putting where. So that, I see as a huge opportunity for improvement and a potential hurdle if they're not on board with it.
Right. Very good.
To Judy's question, I thought twigs, this is maybe not the time, but a stick with leaves off of it, I thought was green waste. Is that
Yes,
not? Okay.
It is. Yes, anything brown that was once alive, grown in the earth. Yes, that's green waste.
Okay, thank you. I thought so too. I just wanted to double check.
What if I put it in my big barrel? The other, not the green waste container.
Then it'll probably just go to the landfill. That's why we need to educate. You need to put that in your green waste cart.
The goal is greenhouse gas emission reductions through landfill, unmeasurable but reportedly significant landfill emissions. So anything that can break down anything organic, we're trying to get it out of the landfill and into an enclosed system. or some sort of like compost process that doesn't have methane gas as a byproduct.
Correct. Yeah.
So just anything that could break down and degrade and decompose. Well, not anything, because I suppose paper could, but that's not the intent of it. It's more of green wastes and food waste.
Correct.
And why are palm fronds not allowed?
I don't know. Good question.
My guess is palm fronds, if they're putting the green waste into either a compost facility, for example, palm fronds don't decompose like the rest of the stuff. They're just they're relentless, right?
Yeah.
So at the end, you end up with a huge pile of palm fronds anyway. And I imagine with with the type of anaerobic digester that CRNR operates, it passes stuff through, fairly quickly, and a palm frond will go in and likely come out in the same condition.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
This is Arlene Schaefer, Director Schaefer. I had a comment. I'm sitting here listening to everything. Everything's really good, except I'm concerned over, don't everyone get their newsletter from us? Because in the newsletter, it details everything you need to do, so forth. I don't know. It worries me that, we're doing a newsletter and nobody's reading it.
Do you mean with regard to the specific what can go in the organics waste bin versus the mixed waste?
Definitely.
Well, I imagine that newsletter hits one demographic and social media hits another, and right. So I'm sure I'm sorry, I don't follow what the sanitation district does for outreach yet. I'm learning, but I'm sure it's a multi-pronged approach.
Well, we send it out to everyone who has the hauler coming to your house, and it's specifically the rules, what you should do, what we hope you could do, and it helps us.
My most helpful thing is the top of the lid. The lid top tells me what I can put in.
Okay.
On my green waste bin.
It is a nice label.
Good.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay, thank you.
And using a multi-pronged approach is better for anything like use of social media and everything else. I think that the difficulty with the newsletter is a lot of people who, are commuting an hour each way and working 2 jobs and have kids to take care of and everything. That's like things like the newsletter are things that they just don't pay attention to. And we're a lot of people are, in a lot of ways, we're also becoming a sound bit kind of society. So if it's not a Twitter length thing, it's less likely to get read by some people as well.
Well, I'm concerned because I'm financially looking at it. Do we really need to do it if no one cares? This to me was a communication for us to get to all of you.
Yeah, well, and I think it does. It gets to some people, and social media, just like he was saying, social media gets to others, and the top of the lid gets to others. So every approach has its audience, and I think it's still probably a beneficial thing. It's just not going to reach everybody.
I agree. I don't think there is one method of communication that would reach everybody. I really don't, because people pick and choose what they read. I can't even get family members to read a birthday invitation. Like they can't be bothered to, read what you send them, and they call and ask you questions. And I think it's kind of the same, people skim through different types of media, and there is a benefit to through as many avenues as you can for that reason. I think that letter, and I think it's great. There is a lot of information in there, so I would like to see it stick around.
Thank you.
Okay, do any of the committee members have any other comments?
Welcome to the new people.
Excellent. Yes. Welcome indeed. Thank you, Judy.
Yes, welcome. And thank you for all of the excellent comments and the participation. I think it's great when people jump in, and I can already see there's so much that we're going to learn and get from the other members, and I'm really excited about that. So thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Board and staff comments. Anyone?
If Secretary Schaefer, if you don't have any more comments, I have a couple things to say.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So the committee, you obviously are well aware that you know the HQ has been closed to the public because of COVID-19, but we did have staff work at HQ on staggered shifts. So you know, like half of staff will be in the office while the other half's working from home. I do want to mention to the CAC that on June 21st, that's the date I plan on bringing all the staff back in the office. So we'll all be back on June 21st. Now, with that said, we will be open to the public, but we are still implementing some procedures. Those procedures might be revised as soon as the new guidelines come out of the governor's office. We're still waiting for those guidelines, but at this point, on June 21st, I'll bring everyone back in the office. Staff is still required to wear face masks when we're interacting with each other. We still have to social distance at least 3 feet apart. And as far as the public coming into HQ, the public is allowed to come into HQ. However, we will have the doors locked. And when you come up the door and you want to come inside, we want to make sure you're wearing your face mask. Otherwise, we won't let you in. So you got to be wearing a face mask to come into HQ. And then as far as our next, I do plan on the CAC's next meeting on July 14th will be an in-person meeting.
Oh.
So I'm hoping, you know, this will be our last virtual meeting. And so if the numbers, the hospitalization, the ICU cases are still down and we're in the yellow phase and we got the new guidelines out, I think we can have our next in-person meeting on July 14th. So stay tuned on that.
Great.
That would be wonderful.
Yes. So thank you.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Any other staff comments? And
I
nothing
just
else?
wanted to thank you all for attending, and I thought you did a great job. Each one of you, even the new people. It's great. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, well, with that, if there are no other questions or comments, I'll adjourn this meeting at, is it 7:24 p.m.? So like Scott said, our next meeting will be Wednesday, July 14th at 6 p.m., hopefully in person.
Yep.
Great.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Take care.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Like.